Karen Whitmore had spent years ruling over the HOA with an iron fist, making life miserable for anyone who dared to challenge her authority. So when she saw a well-dressed black man step out of a luxury car in her neighborhood, she didn't hesitate. She called the cops, confident that she was protecting the community. But when the officers arrived, the man simply smiled, pulled out his own house keys, and delivered a revelation that made Karen's face turn ghost white. What she learned next completely shattered her world. But that was only the beginning. The sun shone brightly over the pristine lawns and neatly paved driveways of Maplewood Estates, an upscale gated community where the grass was always trimmed to HOA-mandated perfection. Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of the Homeowners Association, stood on her porch, sipping her morning coffee with an air of entitlement. Dressed in her signature pastel blouse and beige slacks, she scanned the street like a hawk, ensuring no one was violating the sacred HOA rules she upheld with an iron fist. That's when she saw him. A black man, mid-30s, well-dressed in a tailored navy suit, stepping out of a sleek black Range Rover in front of a house that was supposed to be vacant. Her manicured fingers tightened around her coffee mug as her eyes narrowed in suspicion. "Excuse me," she called out, marching down her porch like a soldier going to war. "Can I help you?" The man turned to her, flashing a confident smile. "Good morning. I'm just here to check on the property." Karen's lips pursed. "Check on it? I don't recall anyone moving in here. Do you live in this neighborhood?" He arched a brow, clearly amused by her tone. "Not exactly, but Then you shouldn't be here," she snapped before he could finish. "We have rules in this community, and we don't allow random people loitering. If you have no business here, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The man chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I assure you, I have every right to be here." Karen's face burned with indignation. How dare he talk back to her? She was HOA president, for God's sake, the very lifeblood of Maplewood Estates. "Look, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I'm calling the authorities." She whipped out her phone, her fingers already dialing 911. "Ma'am, there's really no need for that," the man said, a note of warning in his voice. But Karen had already pressed call. 15 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. 2 officers stepped out. Officer Riley, a stout, middle-aged white man, and Officer Green, a younger black officer, who looked deeply unamused at the situation before even hearing Karen's complaints. Karen stomped over to them, dramatically pointing at the man like she was outing a dangerous criminal. "There he is! He's trespassing on HOA property, and he refuses to leave." The man exhaled, rubbing his temples. "This is unnecessary." "Sir," Officer Riley said, approaching him, "do you live here?" Karen folded her arms triumphantly. "Now we'll see who's in charge." The man let out a slow, measured sigh, then reached into his pocket. Both officers immediately stiffened, hands hovering near their belts, an automatic reaction they had been trained to have. But instead of a weapon, the man pulled out a set of house keys. "Not only do I own this house," he said, unlocking the front door with ease, "but I also own several other properties in this community." Silence. Karen's smug expression faltered. "What?" she stammered. "That's not possible. This is a high-value neighborhood. We have standards." The man turned, stepping fully into the house. "I can show you the deed if you'd like, and my name, in case you were wondering, is Marcus Bennett." Karen's face drained of color. Marcus Bennett. The new real estate mogul who had recently purchased several homes in the neighborhood, homes that were under new ownership but hadn't been officially moved into yet. The same Marcus Bennett who was rumored to have bought out the property management company that oversaw Maplewood Estates. Officer Green smirked, clearly enjoying the shift in power dynamics. "Looks like Mr. Bennett has every right to be here, ma'am." Karen stumbled back, her face burning with humiliation. I didn't know." Marcus leaned against the doorway, his sharp gaze locking onto hers. "Maybe next time, you should ask before assuming, Mrs. Whitmore." Officer Riley, realizing this was a non-issue, muttered an awkward apology to Marcus before nudging Karen. "Ma'am, I think you should head home now." Karen was seething, but she swallowed her pride and turned on her heel, retreating to her house as the officers drove off. But just as she was about to slam the door, Marcus called out, "Oh, by the way, Mrs. Whitmore." She hesitated, gripping the doorknob. "You might want to check your emails. There's going to be some big changes coming to the HOA. She froze. The following morning, Karen practically fell out of bed as she grabbed her laptop and opened her email. And there it was. Subject: HOA leadership changes, effective immediately. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she read the contents. Dear Maplewood Estates homeowners, as the new majority property owner, I am pleased to announce a restructuring of the HOA board. Effective immediately, the existing leadership will be replaced with a new management team. I look forward to fostering a more inclusive and fair environment for all residents. Regards, Marcus Bennett, new HOA president. Karen screamed. She read it again, then again, hoping she had misunderstood, but the words remained the same. Marcus Bennett, the man she had called the cops on, the man she had treated like an intruder in his own neighborhood, was now her new boss. Panic clawed at her chest. She had spent years controlling this HOA, bending rules to her liking, enforcing ridiculous fines on people she didn't like. And now, all of that power was gone. As if on cue, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. Marcus Bennett. Her hands shook as she answered. "Hello?" she croaked. "Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore," Marcus said smoothly. "Hope you got my email. We need to discuss a few things about your role moving forward." Karen swallowed. "My role?" "Yes. As you know, Maplewood Estates will no longer be operating under the same HOA policies. And, unfortunately, we don't have a need for your services anymore." Her stomach dropped. You're firing me?" "Let's just call it a necessary restructuring," Marcus said with a smirk she could hear through the phone. "Oh, and remember that fine you issued to the Petersons last month for their mailbox being the wrong shade of beige? Consider it reversed. I'll be going through all your old violations and fixing things." Karen's breath hitched. You can't just..." "I can, and I will." There was a long, heavy silence. Then Marcus chuckled. "Enjoy your morning, Mrs. Whitmore." Click. Karen sat there, stunned, powerless, for the first time in years. And Marcus? Marcus was just getting started.